Hi, I'm Mina Malik Hussain, and you're watching The Coffee Table. We have a super fun show lined up for you today. They're always fun. But this one is extra special because joining me today on the sofa are two extremely accomplished dancers who would make all of us look terrible. They're the sort of dancers who put all of us to shame, really, which is why they're here. Joining us today are Rehan, Bashir, and Faizan, Ahab. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
It's really nice to have both of you here.
Likewise.
In a sort of excellent postures. I'm gonna put my chin up.
Extra effort for the camera.
Yes, of course. A sort of dancerly posture. I've always wanted one, but I really wanted to learn Kathak like you, Rehan. But I never did. Maybe I could I still do it? Is there an age to do it?
I for a very long time basically felt that I was too old when I started.
Really?
I started when I was, I think, 26, 27.
Okay.
And Kathak is something that people start, especially in India, or any dance form for that matter, ballet at a very young age.
Like 2 or 3, like toddlers.
Well, maybe like 6, 7, ideally. Anything younger than that, I think is.
It's just a little cruel.
Yeah,
perhaps.
I think it is a little, but not judging. But I feel like, I always felt that I started really late, and this was always like, just this kind of regret that I had, that I wish I'd started a lot younger and a lot earlier in life.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is a time for everything, right? And a place. If it's meant to be now for you, it's
better late than never.
Yeah, exactly.
It's better to try, which means I still have hope. I can still do this. I'm not 26,
and
but still.
I also feel like lots of people kind of think of it in terms of, if we dance, we'd have to perform. But
yeah.
it's not. It's not like absolutely necessary for you to perform if you're a dancer.
You don't have to show it off. It's a talent. It's a skill you can learn for yourself as well.
I mean, it's great if you can perform, but there are lots of people out there who learn, and who spend their entire lives learning and dancing, but they don't really want to do it in public ever, or they never want to perform.
Which is fine, because
it's also fine.
If you learn how to paint, you don't have to put on a show. You can paint for yourself, and that's fine too. So you trained with Nahid Siddiqui.
Yeah.
And at 26, you decided that this is something I've always wanted to do, and I'm just going to go and learn.
I was even speaking to Faizan earlier that I have never really planned things out.
Right.
And I haven't really kind of said things like, oh, I plan to do this and I'm going to really go for it.
It wasn't on your bucket list.
It wasn't on my bucket list. I was always fascinated. I was always really entranced, and I was always inclined. But there was always this fear of being judged, and it just so happened that 4 years of NCA really helped kind of loosen me up, in many, many ways.
And what did you do at NCA?
I majored in painting. I was a fine art grad. And
so you went to art school and you were doing that.
I went to art school, and then I think we had graduated, and there was
by 26 when usually does.
And there was a batchmate of mine who said that there's a workshop happening at the Lahore Chitrakar. It was a little artsy space. It had a lot of dance performance and all kinds of things happening. It was run by a painter by the name of Shahid Mirza.
Right.
So she used to Nahid ji used to take conduct workshops there, and me and my friend Aisha, we decided to go for a workshop, and that workshop kind of led to another. And then she, and started calling us to her house for private lessons.
And she saw potential there. And
I mean,
of course, you guys were good students.
I don't know if she saw potential, but I think we were very persistent. We wanted to really, we were just we were really starry-eyed, and oh my God. And obviously, she does it so beautifully. I think that makes a big difference. If you see a practitioner who inspires you, and who herself or himself has such, moves so beautifully, and just, I mean, aesthetics for me are very important,
Yes.
right?
And of course, so like dance is so many things, but aesthetics are a crucial part of that, I imagine.
And we all have different aesthetics. Yeah,
Quite right.
I mean, what appeals to me may not appeal to you.
And I want to come back to that in a second about the sort of varying aesthetics of different dancers. Everybody makes it their own.
Yeah.
So not to generalize, Faizan, but did you also go to art school?
I did. I went to art school, but then again, dance I think came very organically. It wasn't ever planned.
Right. So how did it begin for you?
I mean, I guess as children, we were just encouraged to do it. And then at Max, we were, we attended flexibility classes or creative movement. But then it started at NCA, my first year at NCA, but there was this wedding happening and everybody's like, okay, we have to dance. And then suddenly we're all at a dance practice and then nobody's taking lead. And I'm like, okay, let me just do this.
Let's just do something.
Yeah,
because you're a choreographer.
That's right.
Yes. Are you classically trained as well?
I've attended workshops. I wouldn't say I'm classically trained, but I've attended extensive training for Bollywood.
Oh.
That's right, with Shamik
what
Dabur
fun.
International.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He's really good.
He's amazing. I feel like that really changed a lot of things for me.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'd say everything was just because we were so fond of dancing, and it's really. We generally, especially like this part of the world, it's really, it comes to us naturally. We just need to we just need to put it out there.
Yeah, and so much of our celebration involves dancing, so much of sort of natural self-expression. Like, you're dancing at a cricket match, you're dancing at a wedding,
Yeah.
you're dancing just,
We're a celebratory culture.
And it just sort of, I really do feel that sometimes we're very squeamish about physical expression, especially in this part of the world. But at the same time, we also come from this sort of South Asian culture, we're also very sort of expressive and open about our emotions. And I wouldn't say that any South Asian is sort of an emotionally publicly expressing yourself is not too much of an issue, I imagine. And like so much dancing, again, like, I'm not a trained dancer at all, but dance at all the cousins' weddings. It's really fun.
Yeah, but I feel like that innate ability to move and to be really free with one's own physicality has also been stunted in Pakistan, at least, and to quite a great degree, because people from a very early age are made to feel very self-conscious about their bodies. And I feel hands down, more than men, women in this country. If you're too tall, I've had friends who hunched because they, they felt, they were made to feel like it was something completely out of the ordinary. If you were, top heavy, that was always a problem, or if you, generally, and then even at weddings, how many girls out there actually let their hair down and kind of have a good, yes, there are many that do, but there's
just
still,
as many that don't as well.
Yeah, there's still that, oh my God, there are people watching, and what is, it's just that, I guess it's a sense of great discomfort also, where you're not allowed to kind of where you're not being able to celebrate the way that you want to, and especially, come to terms with whatever physicality you have.
I think that's an important sort of flip side, where I'm all like, hey, everybody's dancing, but not everybody is. And I can see, no, I think you are. I think that's an important.
Yeah, so like
when
I started, or
and especially, and sorry to interrupt, but you two are men who dance and who are very good at it and very talented. But at the same time, dance is also seen as something that it's a more sort of female kind of pursuit. So in terms of like being seen, and in terms of sort of expressing yourself, how has it been for you?
Well, okay, surprisingly, what I've noticed is that, and again, this is a very general statement I'm going to do, but generally, I've seen like men are more comfortable expressing themselves through dance.
Yes, of course, because men inhabit public spaces with much more ease than women do.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like, it's really about who's teaching you, who you're, dancing around, the level of comfort that you can establish with them that really like brings it out in them. Yeah. And for some, it's very easy to break the ice and sort of just get them to start jamming. But some people, also, so when it's not like they don't open up very easily, but then that's their style, I guess. So I give them that license. Okay, this is how you dance, and you should continue doing it this way till you, evolve.
Yeah. And the fact that they're in a class or a workshop with you or anybody else who's teaching dance means that there's obviously an interest.
That's right. Nobody's forced them. There's no guns there. Okay, attend the class, right?
Do it now.
So there's that, definitely. They come voluntarily. That's because they want to. And I think it's great. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to watch a short clip of a performance of Rehan. Oh, that was so lovely, Rehan. Where were you performing this?
This was at Grenade. It was TEDx Grenade.
Right. And were you speaking there as well, or did they just ask you to?
So they gave me the option,
Yeah.
and I did do a very brief talk, but it was primarily the performance.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love how
yeah.
you use words less.
Yeah, I
dance
preferred,
more.
yeah, and I kind of appreciated that freedom of not having to present my entire life story.
Yeah.
I think this was more apt for that talk, and it worked out. I mean, yeah, I think they were happy with it. Yeah.
So a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of classical South Asian dance is very intimately connected to the music as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Sort
Yeah.
of. So, for example, in that clip, what was that music with it? Like, was it a particular kind? Like, is there, with the rag, you have the sort of, there's one for the morning and there's one for the evening. Does dance work like that?
Yeah, it is primarily classical music, and people refer to it as Hindustani classical. But I like to call it South Asian because it's a shared, it's a shared heritage, and the music playing here is also the same. It was a rag, and dance is, and there are many different tempos, there are different rhythm cycles, and so this was on Teen Tal, which is
a 3 beats.
No, it's a 16 beat time cycle.
Yeah,
it's a 16.
Okay.
I mean, and you can divide that 16 and it's this is where a lot of our bass is usually done on the Teen Tal.
Right.
It's the universal tal, and from here, the more advanced you get, you can go on. There's so much to explore within this because it's mathematics.
Is it?
Yeah,
the way music is.
It's 16 beats, and then you know how you break those 16 beats, what you do. They're half beat. There's a lot of.
There's this sort of precise.
Yeah, there are lots of technicalities, and then if you keep going deeper into it, the more nuances, the more sensitive, the more details, it gets pretty. It's really deep. Or you can make it or go into the depth of the tal.
So it almost really sort of becomes language, and it's up to you to see.
It is
sort
language.
Of how deep you want to go, and sort of what words, as it were, to use. That is so fascinating, and we're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more on the language of dance. Stay with us. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. We're talking about dancing and the language of dance and how you can use it for all kinds of expression. I'm having a lot of fun because I don't have to dance. But I would still have fun if I were dancing. So, Faizan, does modern dance have the same kind of that sort of almost mathematical, scientific kind of structure to it?
Yes. So I feel because he's put it just so apt right there. Except so instead of 16, what we do is we work with 8. Okay. And so the 8 modular sort of pattern goes throughout how we, with our dance choreography.
So is there a different, is it different because it's a Western sort of approach to dance as opposed to an Eastern approach?
No, not really. The only difference I noticed was, and because I don't know, I haven't done Kathak, I've done Bharatanatyam, was that it was a 7 beat and a skip. So the skip is the 8th beat itself.
Okay.
Whereas in the other kinds of more contemporary stuff that we do, there is a very set 8 beat. And then within those 8 beats, you can divide them. So then I guess you get to your 16 or you get to your 12.
Right.
But definitely there is that modular 8-beat sort of set that we follow.
I like that because I'm a literature person, and often we talk about poetry and writing poetry, and structured poems have a beat as well. So you can have 8 syllables, you can have 5 syllables. So it's really interesting to me, and how a lot of times people feel that modern poetry doesn't have that kind of structure to it. So like blank verse can just go everywhere. And a lot of sort of beginner writers sort of forget that it has to still have that sound structure to it. So in a way, sometimes, do you think that happens with like modern dance, is that people just go?
No, I feel like they do. They have a very good understanding of what they're performing to.
No.
Your body responds to certain... I feel like at some point your heartbeat responds to it too. Yeah, so it gets in sync with like a certain kind of rhythm, like a beat. And which is why like even when there is no beat, you have a count in your head. Right. And then like, you know when to change it to the next set. Yeah.
So tell me, how do you guys put together a performance, sort of independently? So does the music influence it? Do you have a story in your mind that then sort of is executed through a specific kind of music? Like, how does it go?
I think it goes both ways. Sometimes the music sort of inspires what you want to perform to, and otherwise it's like you have a concept in mind. It's your state of mind, right? So then you want to sort of like translate that into your performance. So you pick the music accordingly. So it goes both ways. It's not like there's nothing set in stone that this is how you have to do it. Dance is really flexible at the end of the day, right? So
quite literally.
Quite literally. So you really make it work out for you the way you want it.
Okay, but what about you, Rehan? How does it work? Because again, I'm sort of thinking of two very sort of different kinds of dance happening here. So I'm just like, how does this happen? How does that happen? How?
Well, I mean, for Kathak, it's usually a very set program. At least that's what I've seen of our Indian contemporaries. And even here, to quite a degree, there's, an Ahmed, which is literally the entrance, and, then there's the Salam, which is the homage, to your guru or to a deity or whatever. And, then you have pure dance, which is just the technicalities. And then you have, expression, which is abhinaya, as well, where you're kind of, you're narrating a story through movement. It's Kathak is basically story. Kathak is from Katha. Katha, basically, which is a story, right?
Okay.
So you're narrating some kind of story. It's either Ram Leela or, it could be a Sufi saint or any kind of embodiment. I haven't done a lot of that actually. My training was more about the technicality and about the body and about unlearning, certain things that one kind of acquired when they were in terms of posture and alignment when they were growing up, and which were not right. Because had I
sort of learning how to move.
Had I started earlier. My body may have developed a certain way, but since I'm 26, things are pretty set. So there's a lot of tension that you don't realize that you're holding in various parts of your body that you, through practice and awareness, need to let go of, and just basically understanding how you shift weight and, even
interesting.
Just generally just walking, and there's something that I think will always stay with me if I keep pursuing dance. That my teacher used to say that, she used to say it in Urdu, she says it in Urdu, कि इंसान खड़ा हुआ इतना खूबसूरत लगे, stage पे है जहाँ पे कि बस सारी बात वहीं शुरू होके ख़त्म हो जाए, so basically you are just standing so beautifully. And
so your body is already telling a story, even if it's standing still.
Even so, a lot of how, and I think obviously she would explain this much better because it's her trajectory and how she's evolved, but with Naeem Siddiqui, it became a lot about just the silence in the movement, as opposed to it being just entertainment through very fast footwork and pirouettes, and which is essentially what Kathak is now. It's about doing 101 spins in 60 seconds,
Right,
you know.
right. So
and
there's a sort of showmanship now
there
to
is
it.
this showmanship which is just like showing your technical virtuosity, and I don't judge that. It takes a lot of hard work to get there, you know, so I have a lot of respect for that, but my mind has kind of, over the years, like I used to really aspire to that. You know, I want to do,
sort of
I want
have
to do
that flair
things,
for
yeah,
it.
just do things
Yeah,
really
yeah.
quick and just kind of wow people through, you know, that speed and that virtuosity.
Yeah.
But you know, with time now, I've kind of, I was never good with that, but because I feel like genuinely my demeanor is a bit, you know, languid, a little smoother, and so it just, and I feel like dance, and especially Kathak or any dance form, you can never really, and this has taken me a lot of struggle to understand that you know, you are an individual, and there are certain personality traits and certain inherited traits and things that you pick up, you know, from just living, you know, experiential things that become that kind of shape your movement as well.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
sort of almost like a state of mindfulness, and maybe that's why even sort of in the history of the subcontinent as well, and you know, well, dance is also used as a mystic form of communication. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why, because dances really makes you aware of your body and your place in the world and your sort of physical connection with the world. And then, of course, any kind of creative form or expression, it really sort of taps into that little something that, you know, I don't know how to express it. Again, so when you talk about silences, I'm thinking of poetry again, and how so many things are often said in the silences between words or between stanzas. But that's something that it sounds really quite special to me. But you know, Faizan, I imagine that with Kathak, for example, there's that space where you can decide how to tell a story, right? So you can sort of personalize it and use your own body and your own language, as it were, to tell that story. But as a choreographer, there must often be like a brief then, because like to my mind, it sounds like it's something that there's a goal and that needs to be achieved. Would that be correct?
Yes, I think so. I mean, do you definitely have like the set a mood for you? That, you know, I mean, or you set it for yourself. You know where you want to, because you see with contemporary also there is a narrative. It has the narrative approach, and contemporary is basically a mix of everything really. By definition, it's postmodern.
Right.
Because you know, you bring in everything, you bring all the ingredients together, and then you sort of make what you want to.
But what's postmodern dance? Because again, I know you're an art teacher as well, you're an educationist, so you're using all these terms, and maybe the people watching it are going to be like, postmodern dance? Like, we know about art, but what is that?
No, so postmodern dance is pretty much what postmodern art is, which is, you know, what the basics of everything, and you sort of like morph them and put them in conjunction in a way that it becomes yours. So it defies the, like, you know, but when you talk about modern dance, people think more about ballet, because that's what modern dance is. So postmodern is basically like, you know, you sort of merge everything.
Yeah. Or you sort of take tradition and you kind of smash it and then you make something new out of it.
But it's essentially still traditional, right?
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, you make something new out of it. And so that's postmodern, which is contemporary.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a bit of more knowledge there.
Yeah. So does it happen, like, you know, how does it work with choreography? Like, if a client comes to you and says, this is the song and we need a dance to it and you got to come up with something. Is that
okay, so mostly, luckily, I'd say here is because there's not the client is not so aware of it. You know, they have ideas. They're not exactly sure what they want. So you just like throw in a few ideas and they agree to one, and then you build it up accordingly. But of course, like, you know, there is that you have to structure it. You get from like, you know, like the story has to. You don't just dance aimlessly, or you can as well if that's what they want.
But it's not freestyling. There's a method to the madness.
Yes, there's a method to the madness. So even when we are freestyling, and you recently got introduced to that, is that freestyle also follows like a certain kind of direction. So right now, like I'm assuming that your question was about how dances directed for choreography?
Yes, because when I hear choreographer, I think of somebody who's sort of laying out a map of steps.
Yeah.
And then you have to be like, okay, a bunch of people are going to do these steps.
That's right. So like, you have like a set storyboard in your mind, or you have it in front of you, either is fine. And you go step by step. So, like there's certain people, they dance this way and then they move on to this place and then that's what they're doing there. So there's definitely that kind of structure to it.
Yeah. And when I think of choreographers, I also think of like Bollywood, because that's like this massive scale of like masses of people just dancing. And we don't have that kind of thing here.
Well, definitely
at that scale.
At scale. It's happening. People are coming up with, so now, because the thing is, it's hard to visualize. As a performer, you see, I can only imagine myself doing certain things, but as a choreographer, I see you need to look at the whole picture, right? Which is why you need to know what the person at the back is also doing.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, then moves are assigned, and then you look into levels. So like, what are people in the front doing? What are people in the middle doing? What are people at the back doing?
Yeah, and that's, you really, I imagine, have to have a real sense of like the theatrical, but on like a really big scale. Well, sort of blocking, everybody, you have to be here, you have to be here, sort of. With an individual performance, you can do whatever you like.
True.
But with the choreographer, I imagine that you have this.
Yes, you definitely have to have a certain kind of structure, but I feel like art school helped with that, and of course there's like a certain aesthetic involved as to like what it should look like. Yeah. So definitely there's that kind of sense that art school helps with.
To give structure to your vision.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds like everybody should be going to art school. Okay, we're just going to take a quick break and talk about art school applications. We'll see you in a second. Hi, welcome back to the coffee table. Because you've come back, we have a little treat for you. We're going to show you a little clip of Faizan performing a really awesome Bhangra number. Have a look. So much fun. I'm just sitting on the sofa and I'm like, yeah, kind of clapped.
Really good stuff. So we're like, we can do this too. I mean, we totally have the potential, the talent, and we must do it. And then Bhangra is so close to home. Yes. And you have like these international troupes where like, this Bhangra Empire and all, so I was like, this is what we do.
Bhangra is so huge, like across the border, and it's like really complex and really strenuous and really like really fantastic. Like a friend of mine was at college in America, and she joined a Bhangra troupe. And when I saw videos of them doing Bhangra, I was just like, we're just doing this. We're like babies on the scene.
No, it's actually like it's a proper dance form, and it's pretty intense.
It's so fascinating and super fun also, I imagine.
Super fun. I think that, it's so high on energy that you sort of like pick on others' energies and you give them energies and you're doing it. I mean, we had a great time making this video.
That's so great. But also there was like a lot of squatting, a lot of frog jumps that my knees are sort of going, just sort of looking at them. So do you guys as dancers have to have sort of fitness routines and sort of workout? I know that Rehan does yoga, because I've seen him on Instagram doing some crazy yoga things. That's really
my training actually started with yoga.
Oh,
yeah, it started
that's so
with
cool.
yoga. Yeah.
So you started yoga, and then it sort of that journey sort of led you to Kathak as well.
No, the Kathak journey actually started simultaneously with yoga.
Okay. Because I imagine that. Well, I know that there's a sort of spiritual element to this also, but then just the physicality of it as well. Is that to have some kind of exercise practice. But how do you think yoga is better than opposed to like going to the gym maybe to dance? Is it better? Is it?
I think so. The first like few years, or the major chunk of the time that I have been dancing, it's been yoga. And of late, I've kind of given that a bit of a break, in the sense that I still practice on my own, but I took up a little weight training, a few high intensity classes, and before this I was doing swimming, a couple of years ago as well.
So there was sort of traditional.
So I feel like you need to, yes, the yoga does instill a lot of self-awareness, and the breath work is really good and it's very helpful, and the flexibility, if you keep doing it regularly, it really. It's pretty astounding, the kind of changes that your body goes through. But I felt like it was, of late, I started feeling like it was not enough. I needed other forms of physical exertion, which were, which were going to help me gain a little strength.
Maybe if you were doing frog jumps like Faizan, get
yeah.
some muscles. So you were
So
also doing yoga?
I mean, so I clearly don't work out and I
Well.
don't do yoga as such either, but I've tried both. And I feel, and this is a very ill-informed view, but I just feel like yoga would be slightly better. Is because, again, like I feel like it adds to the flexibility, whereas workout sort of also stiffens you up. And then I feel like just the kind of dance that we do is workout on its own because it's cardio intensive.
Yes.
So that fills in the I guess the fitness angle of
The gaps. And there's a lot of like fitness routines now that are sort of quite dance based.
There's Zumba,
well.
which is like taken over Pakistan right now like a storm. Everybody's, they just want to come for Zumba because again, it's fun and it's workout.
That's very good. That's a sort of a combination of the two. So do you think, like, that people think about dance as not just entertainment, but it's also meditative, there's a spiritual aspect to it. And I'm thinking of like if you do yoga and you do dance, and do you think there's some sort of dancer heal thyself situation there as well? Like could one sort of do dance as a practice of mindfulness?
you see, I mean, I hear so much of this.
Yes,
That,
I'm wondering.
I've gone into yoga because, it's made me really zen and, I've become really self-aware, or I picked up dance, or I
breathing is
started
better.
painting, and I started... Thing is, Mina, that, I mean, picking that glass of water up and, and bringing it up to your lips and drinking it can be a healing process.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's in the mind.
Yeah.
Your thoughts can be healing, somebody's voice can be healing. To each his own. I just feel like this kind of very, and I don't want to sound judgmental, but I know
Maybe
I
it's
will.
healing for some people.
I will come across as slightly judgmental, but I feel like this. You see these, like our art, our geometry, our aesthetics, our jewelry, our costumes, our textiles, and I think all these things had so many layers, and I feel like maybe healing perhaps was also, has always been a part of it, So walking with proper alignment, kind of trying to learn proper posture, regardless of whether you're a dancer, being aware enough to perhaps work mindfully on your own chakras, or meditating, just kind of trying to clear the clutter.
Yeah, and like you said before about how sort of dance has helped you to inhabit your body more thoroughly, or in a more sort of accepting, positive way, and maybe that in itself is a healing experience for
But it's
people.
also been a struggle.
Yeah.
It's been a great struggle, and it's it's also been very agonizing. It's also been, and this thought about how yoga just kind of heals everything. People don't realize that.
There's much more to it.
There's
There's lots of things that come together.
There's a lot of
for it.
baggage. There's a lot of emotional trauma that you store in your limbs, in your bones, and these things kind of come out with physical movement, and extensive physical movement, and a lot of the times it's like when I was teaching yoga, people come up to me afterwards and say that I feel really depressed, and I halfway through class I thought that I'd actually break down and I'd start crying.
Wow.
So it is that kind of catharsis as well, but it's that kind of release, and that release is not always this beautiful, all about rainbows and exotic birds in your mind,
And sort of,
and the sound of rain. A lot of the times it's a lot of anxiety and depression that kind of resurfaces, that you've
sort of tucked away. But being able to kind of be inside your body in a joyful way sort of releases things that are not that joyful, but ultimately sort of help you. There's a benefit there.
Yeah, there definitely is. There most certainly is. Yeah.
But speaking of struggle, like Faizan, was it difficult to sort of say to your parents that I want to be a choreographer?
No, not at all.
I went to art school to be a painter. Did you study paint?
I studied architecture.
Architecture. So even better. So like, I went to be an architect, but now I'm going to be a choreographer. So how did they take that?
Very well.
Really?
I feel like, thank God, it wasn't very, I didn't have to struggle too hard.
Yeah,
They were very supportive. My mother especially, like I think it wasn't hard at all. She was really, really like, she's like, just do it. do what
Feels
you
like
want
you
to
do you. And they probably
Yeah.
saw that you were really good at it, and they were like, this is something that you could do.
I guess.
And you are. Look at you now. Look, Mom, I'm on national TV.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
So, Rehan, tell me something. What has been like do you have a favorite performance that you've done?
Do I have a favorite performance? I did a piece for a show called A River in an Ocean.
Ah.
And it was.
And where was that? In Lahore?
It was in Lahore. It was an exhibition that was co-curated by Abdullah Qureshi and Natasha Malik, who are art practitioners, visual artists, both of them. And Abdullah was also a gallerist for a very long time.
Interesting. So they're not dancers.
They're not dancers. So this was a group show that they had. It was something that happened parallelly in parallel. Sorry, with the Lahore Biennale. Yes. And it was actually right next door, which is now the Collabs building.
Yes, that's true.
Formerly.
And who did you dance with?
I danced with an American contemporary dancer. Her name is Gillian Rhodes. And
you've danced with her quite a bit now.
No? This was the only performance that I did with her.
Okay.
And it was a 7-minute piece, and it was a great, I feel like it was a very potent collaboration. I really liked what came out of it, and it was just the space. It was an old rundown factory, and
so is Gillian also classically trained in the sort of subcontinental?
I think Gillian trained as a ballet dancer, and then she studied contemporary dance.
Oh, how fascinating!
Yeah,
so a Kathak dancer can dance with a classically ballet trained dancer, and then something really wonderful can come of it.
I feel like the language really needs to be fluid, and it needs to be allowed that flexibility. I have now, although I have for a year now, I've taken a bit of a break and I haven't been dancing full time, but I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think I needed that distance as well, because when you're in it, lots of times you don't kind of give yourself the space to step back and actually think about what you're doing and what movement is to you. So I am now thinking in terms of how it should not be identified primarily as a South Asian dance form.
Oh, that's interesting.
I feel like it becomes.
What do you think of that?
I feel like it becomes very limited in its scope.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Faizan? So forget about that. I want to hear like the fun stuff.
Okay, fine.
What is your favorite performance? Oh, the one you something.
Well, favorite. I've had several really good experiences.
But do you choreograph weddings? Do you do mehndi dances?
Yeah, which is great, because then you have like
fun,
these people, well, no names, but like how like there's people that come and say, "Hi, the step that you just made is not going with the beat," and I'm just like, "No, you just can't do it." It's definitely going with the beat, but like
I can hear the beat.
But there's definitely people who think they can, who think they're great dancers, and they are. Not to say they're not. But then they're there to criticize the work that you've done. But that's what you're there for.
But that's my job. You're like dance-plaining to me.
Yeah.
So what performance is very close to your heart so far?
Performance.
Or dance or whatever.
No, I feel like I had a lot of, I really enjoy my classes that we have. I feel like they're very, very close to my heart. There's a bunch of people who come in with their own sort of styles and their own temperaments. Their own attitudes, not necessarily negative.
But that's the teacher in you coming out now.
No, I guess, yeah.
The classes are the best ones.
Yeah, no, but otherwise also. I've had great experiences on the sets of certain music videos we've done. So I cannot pinpoint one, because each has been very unique.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Faizan and Rehan, for being on the show. This has been so wonderful. I did want to talk a little bit about teaching me a few steps. Like if you are dance inept, what can you do? What's an easy fix? I'm not. I think I'm quite competent as a dancer.
Count till 4 and move any part of your body on 4. So I'm going to count till 4 and you just have to do something. Go and try. Ready?
Don't test this. No, but if you're not a competent dancer, is there a quick fix to that? Something you can do just to get by?
I guess you just
drag you onto a dance
floor.
Sort
of just look at videos. I guess visually you just get to absorb so much that even if you move your hand, just this movement is dance. Yeah. 2, 3, 4. There we go.
And keep your arms away from your body?
From the body, yes.
I recently learned this from Faizan. Keep your arms away from your body if you want to do a little dance.
That's right.
Look how great I am. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for
Thank
being on the
you.
show.
Thank you
I
so
hope that
much.
you guys enjoyed this. Remember, next time you're on a dance floor, keep your arms away from your body and you'll be just fine. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.